Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and in this episode we're going to have a look and see if it's possible to fit air conditioning to the Alfarrari. Alright guys, welcome back to Home Built, and today we're back on the Alfarrari, my Ferrari 360 V8 engine swapped Alfa 105 project. If you haven't been following along and you're new to the channel, I'll put a link up above and you can catch up to where we're currently up to. Last week you'll have seen me build this weird looking contraption. It was a radiator expansion tank that I ended up having spare that I didn't use, so I repurposed it into a washer bottle. There are just a couple of things I'll cover. The main points brought up were it's not very big. That's true. It's not very big. It's not going to weigh very much. It probably will run out of water relatively quickly, but it's going to do the job. It's got plenty there for what it is. I find I don't use the window washers that often, and it's yeah, you just have to fill it up more often. I could have used silicone bends the whole way around on this, but I like the structure of this, getting it all sitting just the right spot. Getting this angle right meant that when this cap is in the car, it's sitting in just the right spot, and it's all sort of perfectly laid out. The only thing that I didn't think about, that was brought up in the comments, that there is no breather on this. So when it starts sucking the water dry, there's going to build up a vacuum inside here with it. You know, there's no air can get in to replace it through this cap. What I'm going to do to rectify that, and the very first thing I'm going to do this week, is just drill a small hole just in the filler neck. So just a really fine hole. If it does slosh around, any water comes out, I'm going to make it so that it's on the wheel arch side of where this filler neck is, so that if anything does sort of spurt out on out of that little tiny hole, it's just going to hit the inside of the wheel arch where water flies up anyway and drain away. And that will give it enough just to feed some air in when this gets used. I have got all the Raceworks fittings now. I just needed a few block offs to block things off, and an adapter so that I've got the washer motor can now clip into the bottom. So this is pretty much a wrap. So let's just drill that hole and move on. All right, that was quick and simple. Now, moving on to today's challenge, and that is we're going to start having a look at possibly fitting air conditioning to the Alfarrari. Now, I have discarded it in the past because there isn't any room in here. It just, there's no space. But after watching some of His Excellency Lord Nick Blackhurst, he managed to fit it in Project Binky, so we are going to try and work some magic here today and see what we can do about fitting air conditioning into this car. Now, spoiler alert, but this unit here, this is a unit from Classic Retrofit in the UK, which is a bolt-in fantastic solution for Harry, and it will be going in Harry in the not-too-distant future as soon as I can get the Rockster off the hoist. This unit is a bolt-in unit, and it is a very well thought out, very well tested unit. This is actually the same unit they use in the Singer, even the Singer DLS. They use in roof as well, I believe. So it's an electric air conditioning unit that is absolutely fantastic. You don't have to actually drill any holes or anything in original old cars. So this is a perfect solution. The Alfarrari, there is nothing that is going to fit in this car, particularly with my modified tunnel and everything else. There is no room. This doesn't fit. Nothing regular off-the-shelf fits. Trust me, I went through all of the combination air conditioning heater units and stuff like that I could find around the place, and I got all the dimensions online, and I actually cut out cardboard boxes and taped them together in the right dimensions and just tried to stick them anywhere I could, and they're just not going to fit. Those of you who don't understand fully about how an air conditioner works, is it's basically got two heat exchangers like a radiator. It's got the condenser in the front and the evaporator inside. The air comes through, it evaporates in the evaporator, and that evaporation makes it cold. You blow air through that cold evaporator, and that's what cools the cabin down. The compressor then condenses it through the condenser, which is like the other heat exchanger that's usually in the front of the car. That gets hot because it's condensing the gas back into liquid form, and it goes around and does a cycle again. That's how the air conditioner works. Now, to run heat and aircon together, you can actually put those units back to back, which is how they run in most modern cars. Is you have the heat exchanger and the evaporator of the air conditioner next to each other, and you either turn the heat on or the aircon on. You can get either heat or cool depending on how you set it up. Okay, so those of you who have been watching for a while will have seen that I previously modified the factory heater box for the Alfa because I couldn't even fit this in the car. Standard, it's got a fan down the bottom. The trouble is now that I've modified my tunnel and made it a bigger tunnel to fit the bigger gearbox, it's just I had to take the fan off of it and put made a blanking plate and a duct so that you could actually suck air through. I was never really happy with with how this was done, and it wasn't a great system. So originally on this car, the way the HVAC system works, if you like, it basically has the heater in the middle that sucks in fresh air, and you can either switch it from demister onto the windscreen or feet, or in between the two. And then you had two side vents on this car that just were open to outside. You could just open them up and let the air flow through as you're driving along. There's no fan connected. It's not connected to the heater in any way. Looking at how this originally worked, I'm thinking that the easiest way to get this to work efficiently is to run two separate systems. That got me searching online, and I found this very cheap, it's probably cheap and probably nasty, heater system. Now, this is just a basic heater element in here. It looks like it's got PC fans on the back. I've already connected it up to 12 volt power, and it actually blows quite efficiently. And I am thinking I can use this. The heat matrix might be a bit smaller than the factory one. I don't know. It is sort of a thick heater core, but it's not as broad as the other one, so it might not be as efficient, but it's still going to give me some heat in the car. I think I can run this in the cabin of the car, basically mostly as it sits, using these existing fans. I think that should be enough for the heat side of things to be able to run to the demister and to my feet. But there's still not going to be a straight bolt-in unit because I still need to make it set up so that I can actually have a diverter valve and run the demister or the feet. That is going to be the bigger challenge for today. For the other side of it, I again jumped on eBay and found this very cheap, basic under dash air conditioning unit. It's cooling only. It doesn't have a heater core in this. Because there is limited room under the dash, I don't think I can stack a heater core in front of the blower core, and also making a three-way diverter valve takes up a lot more room and is a lot more complicated. So this unit actually has some really nice big heavy fans on it. It blows a lot of cold air. Actually, when I was picking it up a second ago, I popped one of these vents out. It's cheap and nasty, and looks pretty cheap and nasty as well. But this unit here, I'm thinking could be the base that I can butcher to fit into the car the way I want, and this will be connected only to those side vents. You can turn on the air conditioner or just the fans, so you'll be able to have the side vents working efficiently, blowing cold air at your face where you want it in the hot weather, and have the heater doing the demister and your feet, and keep them as two separate systems. And that way, I think I should be able to fit them in the car. So to make this work in the car, there's two challenges. One is I want to be able to have fresh air coming through this system. The heater system is going to be recirculating only because the way I have it set up is the fans are just going to be underneath the dash, and it's just going to suck air from the cabin, heat it up and put it back into the cabin. Whereas this unit will be connected to the fresh air ventilation. Both of these units are probably a compromise. They're not going to be the most efficient heaters or coolers, but it's definitely much better than nothing. So let's start pulling this thing apart and seeing what we need to do to fit it to the car. All right, so the first step was just quickly dismantling this to remove the switchgear out of the front of it. This I can redirect and put somewhere else when I work out exactly how I'm going to lay out the controls. But I'm just having a look inside, and there's actually quite a large core. The core is most of this depth. So I think this will actually be a reasonably efficient air conditioning system. It'll actually do something. So the basic plan is I need to build a case over the back of this unit so that I can duct it up to my fresh air inlet. And then I also need to build another case or another cap on the front, if you like, that will then duct the air out either side, and I can run one vent out to the driver's side, one vent out to the passenger side, and we have air conditioning coming out of the two vents. So this will just have the two vents. There'll be no distribution valve. It'll just be two vents. So let's start doing some thinking and work out how I'm going to connect this thing up. All right, so I've done a fair bit of sort of thinking and sort of working out roughly what I need to do. And my basic goal is to build up a cover to go over the back of these motors. The air gets inletted to this whole unit through the center and through the sides. So I want to build a cover that sort of wraps underneath, comes up, and then joins up to this panel, or I may make another panel basically the same. This actually is what bolts onto the plenum, so the air inlet from the front of the car. I need to build something that can bolt up, but so I need to be able to get to the bolts to bolt it in, but also to be able to put this in and out. So I may still have to do a little bit of playing around, but let's do some cardboard templating and see what we can come up with. All right, that was a lot of going backwards and forwards, but I've built myself the box that hopefully will mount up to my inlet plenum for the air, ducting it all in nicely to the fans. Now I need to take my cardboard template and make it out of aluminium. Now, it's hard to get this really accurate because it's cardboard, it's flimsy, so I'm sure there's going to be some tweaks I need to do, but let's start making bits and pieces and see how it comes together. Ooh. So I've spent a bit of time. I tried to actually use the roller to roll the aluminium. It doesn't seem to want to roll when I run it through it. I really had to sort of physically bend it in the roller, and I almost smashed myself in the face with it, which wouldn't have been very fun. Thankfully I didn't. So now I just need to keep tweaking this design. I've got sort of the top curve getting pretty close, so it's just a matter of sort of getting this bit a little bit better, a little bit closer to what I want. So it's backwards and forwards in the roller, and we'll get this shape just right, and then we'll try fitting it in the car and see how it goes. Okay, so I've currently just wedged up the unit, but the aluminium shroud is all bolted in. It fits up really nicely up underneath. Now I just need to build the sides for it to seal it all in, but that is going to work a treat. And it's also, when this is out of the way, going to give me enough room to still be able to unbolt my bolt-in tunnel to be able to get to my gearbox bolts and to my starter motor without having to remove the aircon every single time, which is also one of the big issues. All right, a fair bit of cutting and shaping, and that is a really nice fit. I'm going to use some foam tape around the edges of this because this is going to be mostly just sort of bolted onto the box itself, and then I'll make separate mounts up for the box to mount into the car. So sort of it's going to be held up by these tabs here, this bolt at the back, and these side bolts. So it should be held in pretty well. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that overall fit. That fits quite nicely. So let's weld it up. Oh, I am really, really loving this TIG welder. This world-class TIG welder I've been using is just fantastic. Welding aluminium is just so rewarding. Like, these are my beads, so I mean, again, I'm no professional, but this is no sanding back or anything. That's exactly how they came out. You can sort of see where I've joined, and I'm not perfect, and this wasn't all perfectly lined up, but welding with aluminium, it's so thick, and you can see it so clearly compared to MIG welding. It really, you sort of see the blobs, and it's just, once you start getting it with a bit of practice, it just makes sense, and it's just so, I'm really having fun. This panel is looking pretty good. I have to weld up the inside of these two runs for the top, but at the moment I'm looking at it, it's a little bit skew-iffed, so I'm going to test it out again and do a couple of tweaks, make sure it's all going to fit perfectly, and then we can weld up the last bits, and at least that bit's done. I'm really happy with how this is coming together. I am over the moon with that. That really fits up quite well. Now, there's a couple of gaps around the place that I'm going to go through and use some foam tape around these edges to seal it in when I do the final install. But basically that thing is nice and solid and is going to do the job of ducting nice fresh air into the aircon unit. So I'm really happy. I think it came out better than I expected. So let's put it in the car, make sure that it all fits still. All right, I am really happy with that fitment. It is sitting in there beautifully, tucked up nice and high. I can still get to my tunnel and unbolt my tunnel. And now what I've done is I've got my ducting. So this is some proper heater ducting that I've finally got, and I've managed to tuck it through. There's a hole just the right size in the column for the steering column, up in the back there, and that comes around, and this piece here will join up with the factory hole in the dash. So this is the same size, so that will duct in nicely. So now what I need to do is find a way to cap off the front of this and duct one side over to the vent over here, and then do the same on the other side. Well, after a whole bunch of origami, you can see I've made a structure here. And basically what I'm trying to do is all the air is going to be thrown through the front, and then it's going to have to curve around and then head backwards and back through the vent. So I've done this duct, so I can sort of duct the, it's basically symmetrical, so the air should go reasonably evenly to both sides, and both sides will duct back through around to the vents, following a similar path, so it should get reasonably similar airflow. So I'll just double check it in the car, and then we'll start making up the thing out of aluminium. All right, that was a whole lot of work, but that actually turned out really good. It took a fair bit to turn that cardboard template into this solid piece. Rolling the aluminium, it's quite heavy and it's even though it's very light and it's very soft, it's still very strong, and it's very hard to actually bend it. So I'm quite happy with the end result. This piece clips onto this aircon unit beautifully, and I ground down all the welds in the end because I'm not worried too much about strength. This doesn't have to hold very much strength at all, really. I'm really, really happy with that. That is going to do the job nicely. So the last thing I need to do is, you may have seen that I punched these holes in here, which are the same size as my hose. Now, I don't actually have any aluminium tube that is the same size as this. And all I need is sort of a 25 mil section, an inch depth, to be able to plug my hoses on. Maybe I might do them a little bit thicker than that. But so I'm going to cut out some strips and make my own bits of pipe to weld onto this, and then we should be all done. That took a bit of playing around, but I've got my tubes here. They're not 100% perfectly round, but they're more than good enough for the air hose that needs to go onto it. That's fine. So now I just need to weld them onto this bit and we should be good. Oh, how good is that? Look at the fittings are nice there. There's plenty of room to slide the hoses on. And this all bolts on so nice and neatly on the front. It fits perfectly. Yeah, I am really happy with how this turned out. This is exactly what I had in my mind. I didn't think I'd actually be able to pull it off, but it looks like I have. Let's try it in the car, make sure it all fits, and we should be good. All right, and look at that. We've got the hose on. It ducts in the back there, and it comes around out this side. I haven't cut it to length yet because obviously I've got to put the dash back in, but that's exactly where it needs to come out. So we actually have air conditioning in the car, or at least a blower that's in the car. It works. There's plenty of room down underneath for opening my tunnel. That is fantastic. I am much happier with that solution. And on this side, we've got plenty of room to duct around the back here. I am not sure at this stage whether the glove box is going to work or not. Let's put the dash back in and just see. But that is a lower priority, to be honest. Okay, so the dash is back in here, and I don't think I'm going to be able to fit the full factory glove box, but at least there will be some sort of glove box possible. I'll probably have to modify this slightly to get it to fit in. I'm really happy with that. It's nice and tight up under the dash. I mean, it is hanging down a little bit, but there's going to be center console here and stuff. That is perfect. I am so happy that I persevered and sucked it up and did it twice like normal. But that is definitely all the time I have this week. So I think that means it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, in 1954, in an effort to keep up with the dominant Mercedes 300 SLR with its straight 8, Ferrari developed its first inline 6-cylinder car. The prototype, called the 306S, had a 3-litre Lampredi 6-cylinder created by adding 2 cylinders to the existing 4-cylinder engine. After the prototype, Ferrari decided to bump its capacity to 3.7 litres and began racing the 376S, now making 280 horsepower. By the time the 1955 Mini Meteor came around, the engine capacity was bumped to 4.4 litres in the 735 LM, now making 330 horsepower. So the Ferrari lacked the braking and aerodynamics of its rivals, Enzo believed that horsepower would win out. This would not prove to be the case. In fact, Ferrari never had much success with his inline 6 cylinders. After competing in the disastrous 1955 Le Mans, race regulations changed and a 2.5 litre capacity cap was put into place. Ferrari eventually abandoned its inline 6 cylinders altogether. Interestingly, after the 1955 season, all 4 of the 735 LMs ended up in the US and were campaigned successfully by the likes of Phil Hill and Carroll Shelby.
I am very happy with the progress and being able to fit that air conditioning unit in the car. I think having proper air conditioning in the car is going to make such a difference. And I know there's probably going to be comments of people linking systems that may fit, but you need to also remember that none of those systems pretty much will have any air diverter valves in them. So you really need to be able to focus where the air goes. And I think with this system that I've created, it's going to actually make a usable car that actually has some functionality rather than just turn on the fans and air comes out everywhere and just deal with it.
Yeah. Well, if you watched this far, thank you for watching the whole video because it has been an epically long video.
Yes.
But Jeff didn't know what talking to cut out because it's.
I talk a lot, but you guys are used to that by now.
I think everyone's used to that by now. So yeah. Let Jeff know what you think. He likes to read your comments and like and subscribe. If you want to follow Midday early without the intrusion of ads to interrupt that monologue, follow him on Patreon.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
See ya.
You've got a bit of hay fever. Hang on. Done.
That's recording.
I know. What can I do? It's hard to sneeze.
That might be good.
In an effort to keep up with the dominant from Ted Lasso. Straight 6. 735 LM 330. 4.4 735 LM 330. Especially after the 735 LMs ended up in the US.
US. We're close.
Whew.